So I want to shift gears because we've kind of been talking about like current state and some of the challenges. And if you, having had these experiences and it sounds like, mixed in terms of just organizations facing into data complexity and data debt, are there, what do you think we may be underestimating in the way that humans have of kind of looking at an exponential growth curve and thinking that it's linear? Like, are there some things in terms of, AI, data, culture that are sort of rushing at us that we're just not attuned to yet because of, linear thinking versus facing into coming exponential growth?
I think every company needs to kind of find the perfect balance between, focusing on what their own strength, what their own business is, right? And versus like collaborating wherever it makes sense. And in our case at ZEISS, we built a strong enterprise data strategy that I kind of talked about before, that really enable us with everything that we think is really necessary to do in the next few years. So that's really, independent what our key competition would do. Now, we actively are building data communities within and outside the company. And at ZEISS Group, we build the technical platforms with Microsoft as our partner to enable that data-driven innovation at speed, at scale. Two, we build out the business architecture in a very co-created, collaborative partnership with the business, right? I'm also thinking about design thinking methodologies. We're piggybacking on existing digital transformation program to spin off our data governance council, right? They don't like to use the word governance, so we'll have to come up with a wittier name. But you mentioned culture as well, right? So, and I think in the strongest and weakest link, in a sense, that's really the culture, right? I'm not sure if you attended, but last week there was this very impressive MIT conference, MIT CDO symposium, right? Hosted, and in one of the sessions, I think the moderator, Richard Wang, was throwing a question to the group of whatever the many CDOs was attending, but he said he was asking, which is your number one biggest challenge on your exponential data journey? Is it technical or is it culture, right? Technical culture. Every single response, you could see how the chat was just being bombarded with culture, 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 every single response. So in essence, full consensus that culture is really our corporate world's weakest link for success on the journey to claim data and AI success. So I think that's an aspect that many CDOs, that many corporations, I should say, tend to forget. It's a cultural change. It's not a technology problem, right? And as we know, many corporations are completely underinvesting in upping their game in terms of data culture, upskilling, cross-skilling, data talent, and so on. I mean, we all talk about, what's your R&D budget, right? Oh, it's 7% out of my total revenues, right? Well, what's your data culture budget, right? Is it 0.01% of your total budget? Maybe so, right? So
I think it's great. I think it's a great observation, and I've for over 20 years I've been doing different kinds of transformation programs in large enterprises, and the culture and people is always the hardest part. And it's very interesting because you can look at sort of to draw a parallel, right? Like what's happened with systems of record implementations over the past 30 years in all industries, and you wouldn't say that they've failed. they've been very successful, but only partly successful. And usually the weak point is the human link. And to your point, like what have we ended up with? Like all these silos. They're technical silos, but the reason they're technical silos is more the prior reason, right? The proximate cause of it is actually the organizational silos, not anything to do with the nature of the technology. Technology has the great characteristic of not caring how it's implemented. It gets implemented by people, and then they set it up in these silos.
Right.